If you don't know who Dexter Taylor is, you're gonna know after watching tonight.
New York apparently doesn't care if criminals abuse children. But those who may be at home tinkering with guns as a hobby, well, that's when socialists throw the book at those folks in New York, and that's exactly what happened to our next guest.
Software engineer, 30-year veteran of the IT industry, squeaky clean criminal record, never any problems with the police. Some years ago, I got into gunsmithing, and using legal parts I bought online, I manufactured first Glock pistols, then AR-style rifles in my basement workshop where I make all kinds of stuff, including my own furniture. In April of 2022, I was raided by a joint NYPD ATF task force. Basically, SWAT team broke my door down, took me off to Rikers where I spent a week. My bail was almost $250,000, and now I'm on the line for 18 years if I lose my case. That's in New York City.
Audacity to exercise his Second Amendment right to bear arms, or in his case, build guns in the privacy of his home. The DA, the state of New York, the Attorney General want to make an example out of him and put him away for years. The problem that they have is that his actions are legal under the Second Amendment, but New York State is thumbing its nose. They don't like the Second Amendment, and they've chosen to prosecute him and try to throw the book at him.
A year ago this week, standing here with many of you, I instructed the Attorney General to write a regulation that would rein in the proliferation of ghost guns because I was having trouble getting anything passed in the Congress. But I used what we call regulatory authority. A year later, we're here to keep that promise. The gun lobby tried to tie up the regulators and paperwork for a long, long time.
I never intended to make a particular political statement about this. I kept it very quiet. I didn't talk about guns online. I didn't post pictures of my weapons online. But once this happened, and I was lucky enough to get a good legal team, we all saw this the same way as a civil rights issue. And we all understood that the state of New York has no more right to tell me that I may not keep and bear arms than it has to tell me I have to sit in the back of the bus or to tell me to come in by the colored entrance.
What New York is doing is they're going and redefining, Jeff, everything from what is considered a gun through the ATF, whether a receiver can be considered a gun by itself. If you just have an unmilled piece of aluminum, that's a gun. It's a gun right there. And that's how they're trying to redefine this, and then apply the law ex post facto and make felons out of innocent people. Do I have this correct?
You have it absolutely correct. And I read the affidavit. The way they even found out about Dexter is because they pressure a lot of these gun manufacturers who sell parts, which, like you said, it's perfectly legal to buy these, but they pressure them into giving over the data. They go through it. They see that all these parts are going to one address. They get onto Dexter, and then they bust them for doing something that is not against the law, that is not that is not harmful to anybody. But one thing that I've learned through this whole trial, Dana, is that New York, their system is set up to where the Constitution doesn't even matter. It isn't even relevant. Federal law is not relevant. They would not even allow the attorney or Dexter to bring up the Second Amendment during the trial. The judge admonished them multiple times not to even mention the Second Amendment. So you can see how New York's legal system is working, especially when it comes to violating certain natural rights that they don't think we should have.
Any idea that what you're doing could be deemed to be illegal?
Of course not. Why would it? In other words, I know I'm not a prohibited person. We're not talking about carrying weapons around. That's different, right? In other words, I knew, and I didn't agree with it, but I knew it, and I wasn't going to get into a pissing contest with New York State. I knew that carrying weapons around was illegal unless you had a permit, right? Again, I didn't agree with that either, but I wasn't going to test New York. I'm not an activist. You see what I'm saying? So I knew that but I wasn't carrying weapons around. None of my weapons left my house, right? Now, I also knew that buying firearms in New York State was illegal. I didn't agree with that either, but I didn't try to buy any firearms. I didn't buy any firearms. I bought parts and I bought legal parts and I put them together. I bought legal parts online under my own name and had them shipped to my house.
And already the system, the judge is putting her fingers on the scales of justice by interrupting my opening when not interrupting the prosecutors. It's outrageous. But the system is rigged, and Dexter's my hero for standing up for his Second Amendment rights, fighting the system, and willing to sacrifice himself, go to state prison if he has to be able to get to federal court to challenge this in federal court.
The NRA called this rule I'm about to announce extreme. Extreme. But let me ask you, is it extreme to protect police officers? Extreme to protect our children? Extreme to keep guns out of the hands of people who couldn't even pass a background check? Look, the idea that someone on a terrorist list could purchase one of these guns is extreme. It isn't extreme, just basic common sense.
It's ironic that Democrats tell people like me to be afraid of murderous white supremacists, but at the same time turn around and tell us that we should remain unarmed and are willing to flout the Constitution to make that so. And then,
are you stressed out?
No. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't like the idea of spending the next 18 years away from my daughter, for example. I told Kim Iverson when she interviewed me, like, my daughter said she's proud of me. She knows what I'm facing. She said, Papa, I'm proud of you for fighting them. So, like, you can't scare me with anything. You can't show me a bunch of time and scare me. No, I'm a first-class citizen. I'm a free human being, yeah? And my home is the United States of America. And the Constitution of this republic applies in all 50 states. All of them. And you can say I'm not allowed to say it in court, but I'm damn well going to say it out here. Constitution applies in all 50 states, you know, and the right to keep and bear arms is a sacred right. It's embedded deep, not just in the history of this country, but in the history of black people, civil rights. You know, black folks picked up arms and defended the communities they built after emancipation. It wasn't, we didn't sit around singing "We Shall Overcome," waiting for white liberals to come and bail us out. We picked up weapons and stood too like men to defend the decent from the wicked. You see what I'm saying? That's our history, right? That's where we come from. That's what we are. So, you know, all this thing about this and that, blah, 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 you're gonna have to do this, and 18 years, it's like, hey, you're not gonna scare me, you know? My daughter said she's proud of me. Good to go. Let's go.